I hope he gets the treatment and the help that he needs. Yes, it is helping our cause. I'm sorry to say, you know, but the good thing about this is he did not die. He is alive,
yes,
and he's getting the help he needs. I believe he's also speaking somewhat openly about it. They're not denying what he did. He's not denying what he did, and he's saying that he's getting the treatment that he needs. And I, for one, of course, don't know the guy, but I'm really proud that he's able to do that. High-profile person that he is, to not be ashamed. Hey, I had a major issue here. I did something. I'm getting treatment for it. Please allow me time to get healed. And I think that's going to do a lot for people who are looking up to people. And when celebrities do something like this, I believe it probably happens more than what we know, but it's covered up.
Yeah.
It also goes to show that someone can look like they have everything, money, you know, big house, lots of friends, wonderful girlfriends, and if you have a mood disorder or you're mentally ill or you're suffering from severe depression, it does not matter what you have. It's how you feel about you. And he needs to know that he's worth living. And I hope that he's feeling that way now.
I think one of the most important aspects of it is, if you don't know who Owen Wilson is, a very handsome leading man, very successful, very many movies that have earned millions and millions of dollars. I think if there is a kid sitting at home contemplating anything but afraid to talk to anybody,
right?
Because they don't want to be labeled crazy, or they don't want to be labeled dark or overly goth or dramatic, but then they realize, well, geez, some of the biggest people in the world are having these exact same feelings, so I'm not that strange for having these feelings.
No, you're not strange for having those feelings. I can't find a person, I don't think, who hasn't had feelings of depression at some point in their lives. Obviously, there are people out there who haven't thought about killing themselves, but I do believe that nearly 90% of the population, I'm just guessing here, has probably thought, hey, gosh, my life's really bad right now. I wonder what it would be like if I wasn't here, or I wonder if my family would be better off if I wasn't here, which I think a lot of people think when they get to that point. So I think the reason why suicide is such an issue that isn't talked about is because people are scared of themselves and how they felt at certain moments, and they don't want to talk about that. But as soon as we realize that this is a real, true mental disorder, it is a disease, and just like cancer eats the body, mental illness eats the brain, and it is the same. If you have cancer, you get treatment for it. If you have a mental disorder, you get treatment for it. I know we can't save everyone, but to me, it is worth it to do this job if I can save a few.
Sure. Well, at this point, I want to turn it to Mariana. It's suicide, always extremely sad thing, but sometimes teenagers make decisions that maybe an older person thought out a little bit more. And a teenager, if they would just taken a few moments or even a day to talk to somebody, maybe a tragedy could have been avoided. And Mariana, last February, your life was touched by suicide as well. Could you tell us your story?
Yes. I have been working for the same company for the past few years, and my boss has two sons, Jake and Alex. And last year, Jake decided to take his life. I remember getting that phone call. I used to babysit the two of them. For one summer, I was the babysitter. I took care of them, watched over them, even though they were pretty old to have a babysitter. And then after they got older, I used to come over whenever the parents went out of town, make sure they weren't throwing any parties. But I was always around. I always saw them. I worked with your mom, and I saw them growing up. I saw them becoming young men, and I remember that getting that phone call, and it just didn't seem real. I just did not believe it for at least 2 or 3 days. I couldn't believe it. He couldn't have done that. He was the kind of kid that he would walk into the room and everybody would notice him. He was never sad. He was always smiling, always cracking jokes, always standing up for other people. He was just an amazing, amazing person. And it's just something that you can't get over. And until, nowadays I see things and I think of him, I see his brother and I miss him. I mean, we all do, even though, yeah, it does affect the family. It affects the closest friends. It also affects the babysitter. It affected my family in a way. I have a brother that's around his age.
Sure.
And as teenagers go, they all go through hard times. They all go through, and I think it has helped me and my family in a way that my brother now feels more comfortable coming up to us and telling him that he has a problem, that, I need somebody to go talk to. And this is what's happening. And this is how I'm feeling. And it's happened. It's helped us as a family so much more. And it's devastating that it took such an awful thing to happen in order to help and to enlighten, in a way, other people that Jake affected.
Well, I think when people have an experience with it, it brings a reality to it, because if you've never had someone in your family that has done it, or a friend, then you don't know the absolute destruction that's left behind. And I know whenever, I talked to a friend once that said, listen, forget about you for a minute. Do you realize what you're going to do to your family when you leave? And you realize the wake that you're going to leave in your family, and you can't recover from this. It's you can piece it together, but you're still always kind of wondering, what can I do? And there's things you can do. And I'm not sure if Tammy or Mariana knows more about this, but Jake's family has now gotten very much involved with these walks and earned a lot of money. Marianne, do you know about? Can you tell us a little bit?
I was the first one to sign up this year. I'm sure Tammy knows better about how much money we raised last year. I think we were third or fourth in the nation.
Third in the nation.
Wow.
And that's counting, probably nearing last year. We had nearly 100 walks in the nation. This year we'll have over 100. But for, a team in little old Ann Arbor to compete with cities like New York, San Francisco, Atlanta, and their team was third in the nation.
And that was Jake's team, right?
That was Jake's team. Yeah. I believe it's called Jake Caden Loved Forever and Always. Yes. And, they had a tailgating party before the event, and I think it's wonderful, because our walks are not about, they're not mournful events. Yes, we do remember those that we've lost. We have a remembrance wall where we can put up pictures and we can write notes to those that we've lost. But it's a hopeful event, because what we're doing there is we're raising the necessary funds that we need to make it so that these other children don't do this and we don't have another Jake. It's ironic, when Mariana was talking about how much Jake's suicide, unfortunately, this had to happen to make your family more aware. And the same thing happened with my father.